municipalities for stormwater management, imposed obligations on the town, also imposed some criteria the town has to follow. One of the criteria was to adopt a stormwater control ordinance, which you did in 2004. The ordinance you adopted in 2004 is was put into your land use ordinance, provisions of your land use ordinance, and you essentially adopted the model ordinance that the state offered back in 2004. As part of the renewal of the permit, as they went through the years, the states added other criteria to the obligation. And on this recent round, they've added an obligation to update the stormwater control ordinance. Again, they've published a whole new model ordinance that you could adopt like you did the last time in its entirety, or you can make provisions to add some elements to it. The memorandum that I wrote to the road committee back in April was sort of a summary of some of the technical things that are going on. I tried to keep as much as possible in layman's terms, but just to give you a sense of what the changes were in the regulations. And in essence, it's really kind of modeled around green infrastructure. In prior ordinances, as part of stormwater assessment and analysis, they would encourage you to use the non-structural strategies, but they weren't exactly mandated. It was to the maximum extent practical, I think was the term they used. In the new ordinance, they're actually mandating more green infrastructure, which essentially would be like rain gardens or pervious pavement, or bio-EV, like just the old standard stormwater control basin. So again, I just kind of went through this out, some of the definitions. I think I attached a copy of the model ordinance, and you can adopt it as it's written, or you can enhance it. One of the enhancements you could do is a project. A major project is generally defined as having a disturbance. You're disturbing something of more than an acre, or you're adding more than a quarter acre of additional impervious coverage. Many of the projects you have in town don't rise to that threshold. For example, the shell application.
In order to kind of start this process and apply for open space money that our taxpayers already pay into to get back into the town, we had to do a proposal. And so that's where Joe and Chris came in. The recreation department put the money aside to work with suburban engineers in order to design the playground. So that's part of the piece of the proposal in order for us to move forward. Now, the design is what Chris, Joe, and I kind of came up with. They walked the playground, laid it out. We did ask a lot of parents while we were there what their feelings were, how they thought. And really, my idea around this playground is a couple things. One, it's 30 years old, so it does need some revitalizing. It has served our community so well. And the other thing is, especially as a social worker working with children and adults with disabilities, is our park is not ADA compliant, meaning those with disabilities, handicap bound, can't access the park safely and cannot participate in the equipment. And really, to be a meeting place in our town, I really wanted to bring that to the forefront, and so it's really inclusionary and we can include everybody there. So at that point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Joe and Chris, and they have renderings of what we kind of came up with, and but this isn't set in stone. This is just kind of our ideas of what we threw around for the proposal, and things can be changed. So.
Joe Perello, I'm a vice president and partner at Suburban Consulting Engineers. I am a landscape architect and a park planner. And with me tonight is Chris Kemper. He is another licensed landscape architect in our company. And we both specialize in designing park and recreation facilities and athletic facilities. But before I start, I want to thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving us this opportunity to present rendering to you tonight. And I also just wanted to personally thank Councilwoman Megan Johnson on her efforts and her drive in getting this project moving. My design manager, landscape architect, Chris Kemper. It's all yours, Chris.
All right. Can everyone see the plan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, as Joe said, we worked pretty closely with Megan, met with her several times just to see what the town wanted out of the playground. We heard nature is a very big theme in the town, so that's kind of like what the theme we're going with the rendering here with the playground design. A lot of the equipment is sort of nature themed. The safety surfacing on the playground, we sort of have a river motif going through with fish. We're basically keeping the parking where it was. We want to keep that existing decorative fence and just add a gate in there just to make it a little safer so kids can't just run out there into the parking area. And then we're breaking apart the playground into 2 age group areas. We have 5 to 12 age group area in one location, and then we have 2 to 5 play group in another location. As Megan said, we really wanted to update this equipment, make it exciting. Right now, a lot of the equipment that's there is really geared towards the younger kids, so we tried to add, some taller features, more climbing things to make it more appealing to older
But this
kids.
is just not going to be like, my ideas and working with the engineers. This is a large community event, and not just in the town of Clinton, but the overall community, because I think we can all speak to that the surrounding community also visits this park very, very often. It's a meeting place for a lot of people. And so that's why we want to make sure that, we're including the greater community. And I have gotten some contact from people who want to join in. So there's going to be probably about 12 different committees that are going to be working in particularly on this project. So that includes not only kind of the chairs of, the envisionaries of what this kind of looks like. There's construction. There is volunteerism, there's sponsorship and marketing and PR. There's going to have to be what we want to be a children's committee. So they have input into it as well. We talked last year with the 7th and 8th grade at CPS. We want them included. We want their input. If they think the slide is cheesy, well, let's see if we can get a bigger and better slide. Those things need to be put into play. The biggest part of step 1 is really gathering all those people together. And we have a handful of people who are interested in getting involved, but we need tons more. And really, because the first step in really kind of moving forward, now that we kind of have the groundwork, we have about $120,000 to start with. It's going to be a lot more to kind of move forward through the whole entire project. So we really need to do marketing, PR, and sponsorship and fundraising. So that's going to really be the first steps in order of trying to move this forward. I would like, and get me wrong, to start, groundbreaking, first pieces of equipment so that it's up and ready for moving in spring. But I don't know if that's possible yet, and see where that happens. But I like to be pushy and move hard and fast on things so that